Ladies and gentlemen, queens and dreamers, let me tell you something powerful. Being a high-value woman isn't about wearing the most expensive outfit in the room. It's about carrying yourself like you own the room. It's not about chasing validation. It's about knowing your worth, even when no one claps. A high-value woman isn't just admired, she's remembered. Not because she fit in, but because she stood out. You don't become high-value by playing small. You rise when you stop apologizing for your power, your ambition, your voice. Listen, darling, your softness is your strength, but your boundaries are your crown. Don't confuse being liked with being respected. Because when you start choosing yourself, when you say no without guilt, when you protect your energy like your life depends on it, you step into your real power. And that is when the world starts paying attention. A high-value woman doesn't wait for a round of applause to feel worthy. She walks through the world with an inner knowing that her value is not dependent on recognition. Strength. She doesn't need to be told she's enough because she already knows it deep in her bones. There's a difference between being confident and being inflated by external praise. True confidence is quiet, it's steady, it doesn't scream, it simply exists. And that kind of self-assurance makes people take notice without you even trying. It's in the way you speak, the way you sit, the way you enter a room. That kind of presence doesn't need permission. It's already arrived. Validation is addictive, but it's also fleeting. When you build your identity on compliments, you become fragile in the face of criticism. But when you root your self-worth in who you truly are, not how the world reacts to you, you become unshakable. A high-value woman doesn't play to the crowd. She doesn't shift to fit expectations. She is the standard, not a seeker of approval. Her goals are not to be admired, but to be fulfilled. There's immense strength in being able to walk away from places where you're not seen. And even greater power in not needing to be seen to know you matter. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. Not your boss, not your partner, not your family, not your friends. The moment you stop auditioning for people's approval is the moment you step into your highest self. A high-value woman knows that she brings something rare to the table, and if someone can't recognize it, that's not her loss, it's theirs. She doesn't beg for respect, she commands it by existing in her truth. She doesn't over-explain or over-justify her decisions, because she understands that real value is self-evident to those who have the eyes to see it. Knowing your worth isn't arrogance. It's clarity. It's the ability to look in the mirror and say, I deserve more, and then act like it. It's refusing to stay in relationships that drain you. It's walking away from jobs that don't appreciate you. It's saying no to anything that asks you to shrink, to settle, or to dim your light. A high-value woman doesn't chase. She attracts. She attracts opportunities, respect, and people who are aligned with her energy because she honors herself first. And that self-honor becomes her magnetism. The world will always try to tell you who to be. Softer, quieter, smaller. Don't listen. Don't conform. Be bold enough to take up space. Be brave enough to shine, even when it makes others uncomfortable. A high-value woman understands that her light might intimidate some, but she never dims it for anyone. She understands that authenticity is rare and therefore valuable. She doesn't aim to be liked by everyone. She aims to be aligned with the right ones. And that alone makes her powerful. Every time you choose yourself, you send a message to the universe. I know what I bring. I won't accept less. That's what it means to know your worth without apology. It's not about ego. It's about elevation. It's about stepping into the fullness of who you are and refusing to live beneath your potential. And the truth is, once you learn to stand in that kind of truth, you won't chase validation ever again. Because you'll know you've always been enough. More than enough. Just as you are. Everyone carries a story, and within that story are pages stained with struggle, heartbreak, and mistakes. But that doesn't make you less. It makes you real. It makes you human. Too often, we try to erase the chapters that hurt, trying to show the world only the highlight reel. But true strength isn't found in perfection. It's found in the courage to stand tall and say, Wes, I've been through it, but I'm still here. The world doesn't need another polished mask. It needs rawness. It needs truth. It needs women who can stand in their scars and say, this is who I am, unfiltered, unedited, unapologetic. Your scars are not your shame. They're your story of survival. Every setback you endured, every tear you wiped alone, every moment you questioned your worth, they weren't roadblocks. They were redirections. They didn't break you, they built you. You became wiser, sharper, stronger. And yet here you are, still standing, still showing up. That's power. Don't allow anyone to make you feel like your past disqualifies you from greatness. On the contrary, it's your past that qualifies you to lead, to inspire, to rise. Own it. Wear it like armor, not chains. There will always be people who will try to reduce you to the version of you they once knew. They'll say things like, you've changed, as if evolving is something to be ashamed of. But growth is not betrayal, it's necessary. You are not here to remain in someone else's comfort zone. You're here to outgrow the expectations, to break free from the boxes people tried to keep you in. So if your healing makes them uncomfortable, let it. Don't shrink yourself to fit into spaces you've already outgrown. Your past may have shaped you, but it will never define the heights you are meant to reach. There's a rare kind of beauty in someone who has faced darkness and still chooses to move forward with light. That light doesn't come from perfection. It comes from acceptance. The moment you stop hiding parts of yourself is the moment you start living freely. And when you live freely, you inspire others to do the same. You give silent permission for people around you to stop pretending and start being. Because nothing is more magnetic than a woman who has stopped performing and started existing in her truth. Fully, fiercely, and with grace. You don't owe anyone the watered down version of yourself. You don't have to filter your story to make others comfortable. What you went through, your heartbreaks, your detours, your battles, they made you you. and the you that rose from all that pain. She deserves to be seen. The real you, the whole you is enough, always has been. Stop editing your journey for people who only want the fairy tale. Let them see the storms, the survival, the comeback. Because the most valuable stories aren't the ones without struggle. They're the ones where the heroine rises anyway. In a world obsessed with flawless, be the woman who is fearless. Fearless enough to say, yes, I've been through it. And yes, I still believe in what's possible. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's not brokenness, that's beauty. Your story matters, all of it. Every messy, magical, painful, powerful part of it. So own it. Own your scars, your past, your rise. That's how you claim your power. Not by being perfect, but by being real. And there is nothing more unstoppable than a woman who finally realizes that her story is her strength. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls, it's about building respect. It's declaring to the world, I know my value, and I will not allow anyone to cross the line of disrespect, no matter who they are. A high-value woman doesn't let guilt manipulate her into overextending herself. She understands that her energy is not a free for all. When you say no, you're not being rude. You're being clear. And clarity is kindness, both to yourself and to others. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. And when you stop tolerating the bare minimum, you start receiving what you truly deserve. Far too many women are raised to equate kindness with over-sacrifice. We're taught that saying, yes, all the time makes us good, likable, and loved. But what's the cost of that constant yes? Burnout, resentment, emotional exhaustion. A queen doesn't pour from an empty cup, and she doesn't dim her light to keep the room comfortable. She chooses herself, not selfishly but wisely. She knows that self-respect is the highest form of self-love. And every time she honors her own limits, she teaches the world that she is not available for anything less than mutual respect. Peace is not passive, it's intentional. And to protect it, you have to be willing to disappoint some people. You have to get comfortable with uncomfortable moments. The friend who doesn't understand why you're unavailable 24/7. The relative who expects you to sacrifice your dreams for tradition. The coworker who drains you with their chaos. Boundaries will shake your relationships, but only the ones that were built on your silence or self-abandonment. The people who truly value you will adjust. They will honor your voice, not punish you for using it. And the ones who fall away, let them. That's not loss. That's alignment. Saying no without guilt is a muscle. One you have to exercise to strengthen. It doesn't come naturally at first, especially if you've been conditioned to equate your worth with how much you give. But every time you honor your needs, every time you say no, when your soul is whispering it, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You start walking in power instead of pressure. You stop waiting for permission and start enforcing your peace. And that's where real confidence is born. Not in being everything for everyone, but in being fully there for yourself. People, pleasing is a prison dressed up as politeness. It robs you of your truth, your time, your voice. It convinces you that keeping everyone happy is your job, even at the cost of your well-being. But the moment you realize that your worth is not attached to your ability to fix, please, or appease others, you become free. A queen does not beg for acceptance. She doesn't twist herself into smaller shapes to avoid conflict. She speaks with grace and stands with strength. And that balance between heart and backbone, that's what makes her untouchable. A woman who knows how to set boundaries walks differently. She radiates peace. She doesn't chase chaos or tolerate disrespect. Her no is complete. It needs no explanation. Her time is protected, her mind is guarded, and her heart is reserved for those who earn it. She's not hard. She's clear. And in a world that constantly tries to stretch women beyond their limits, clarity is a form of rebellion. It's not about closing yourself off. It's about choosing who gets access to your energy. Because your energy is sacred. Protect it like royalty. Because you are. We live in a world where being liked is glorified, where validation is a currency and attention feels like a reward. But here's the truth. Being liked is often temporary, fragile, and driven by trends. Respect, on the other hand, is built on consistency, integrity, and authenticity. A high-value woman doesn't walk into a room hoping to be everyone's favorite. She walks in grounded in who she is, knowing that those meant for her will recognize her energy without needing a performance. She doesn't dilute her personality just to be digestible. She speaks with purpose, not to impress, but to express. There is a quiet power in someone who doesn't chase approval. When you aim to be respected rather than liked, you stop saying yes to things that drain you. You stop people-pleasing and start self-respecting. Respect comes from showing up the same way behind closed doors as you do in public. It's about the way you carry your standards, the way you stand firm in your values, even when it's uncomfortable. A woman who respects herself creates a ripple. She teaches others how to treat her not with noise, but with unwavering presence. You don't have to shout to be heard when your silence already speaks volumes. Confidence isn't found in how loudly you speak or how many compliments you collect. It's rooted. It's in how you walk through conflict, how you carry yourself when no one's watching, how you respond when someone underestimates you. The loudest one in the room often has the most to prove. But the most powerful woman doesn't need to prove anything. She knows. That kind of knowing is unshakable. It doesn't flex for attention. It simply exists. And that grounded presence earns more respect than any applause ever could. Choosing respect means choosing the long game over the instant gratification of being liked. It means you might not be the most popular person in the room, but you'll be the one they remember when it matters. You'll be the one they turn to when they need honesty, stability, leadership, because people eventually grow out of fascination. They crave substance. And a high-value woman is substance. She doesn't sugarcoat the truth to be more palatable. She tells it with grace and strength, knowing that honesty is more valuable than hollow approval. There's a difference between attracting attention and commanding presence. Attention is loud, fleeting, often surface level. Presence is deep, magnetic, unforgettable. A woman of presence doesn't enter a room seeking to be the center of it, yet somehow people gravitate toward her. Why? Because she carries a sense of self. She knows who she is, what she stands for, and where she's headed. She's not trying to outshine anyone. She's just too focused on her own light to worry about competition. That confidence is rare, and in its rarity, it's revered. You don't owe anyone a version of yourself that's easy to digest. You weren't born to entertain or to perform. You were born to be, to lead, to own your voice without raising it, to demand respect without ever needing to beg for it. Being respected isn't about dominance. It's about alignment. It's about walking so firmly in your truth that others can't help but honor it. And when you stop aiming to be liked by all, you make room to be respected by the right ones. That shift, that's where real power begins. In a world that often pits women against each other, being the one who lifts others instead of tearing them down is a revolutionary act. The high-value woman doesn't see another woman's success as a threat. She sees it as proof that greatness is possible. She doesn't compare timelines, titles, or appearances. She claps loudly when others win, knowing that someone else's light doesn't dim hers. Real confidence doesn't compete. It celebrates. And the woman who lives in this truth becomes magnetic. She becomes someone others trust, admire, and remember. Not because she outshined others, but because she helped them rise too. Competition is rooted in scarcity, in the belief that there's not enough success to go around. But a high-value woman knows that abundance is real. She understands that collaboration opens more doors than comparison ever will. She chooses to build, not battle. She networks, mentors, and connects others to opportunities. She sees women as allies, not rivals. And in doing so, she creates a circle that isn't just powerful, it's unbreakable. That kind of sisterhood becomes a force. Because when women support each other with intention, they don't just grow individually. They evolve collectively. The woman who supports others is not weak. She's secure. It takes strength to offer genuine encouragement, to lift another without feeling smaller yourself. It takes self-awareness to recognize your own value while still acknowledging the brilliance in someone else. The high-value woman doesn't need to be the only star in the sky. She's too wise for that. She knows that the sky is wide enough for everyone to shine. And that's why people gravitate toward her. Not just because of her talent, but because of her character. Because she's the kind of woman who doesn't just speak about empowerment. She embodies it. There's a difference between performing empowerment and practicing it. True empowerment shows up in everyday actions, in the compliment given when no one's watching, in the silent support, in sharing the spotlight. The high-value woman doesn't talk about unity while secretly hoping others fall behind. She aligns her energy with truth and integrity. She knows that her legacy won't be built on how many people she outdid, but on how many people she uplifted. And that legacy, it lives far longer than likes, followers, or fleeting recognition. Because impact outlasts popularity every single time. Being supportive doesn't mean dimming your light. It means knowing it's bright enough to help others find their way. 2. It means understanding that real leadership isn't about dominance. It's about influence. And influence is born in kindness, humility, and the willingness to rise and reach back. When a high-value woman climbs, she doesn't pull the ladder up behind her. She anchors it so others can rise too. That's the kind of woman people don't forget. Not just because she made it, but because she made space for others to make it with her. The truth is, a woman who supports others stands in a league of her own. She doesn't shrink in the presence of greatness. She grows beside it. Her glow isn't dependent on comparison. It's rooted in collaboration. She doesn't measure her success by how far ahead she is, but by how many hands she held along the way. That kind of power can't be faked. It can't be taught in books. It comes from knowing yourself deeply enough to know that your value is secure. And from there, choosing to build something bigger than just your own success. That is the mark of a truly high-value woman. Success without purpose is noise. It might be loud, but it doesn't last. What truly echoes through time is impact. A high-value woman doesn't just chase achievements for applause. She moves with intention. She's not here to just collect trophies or climb ladders. She's here to change the room she walks into, to leave behind more than just her name, but her influence, her wisdom, and her energy. When she speaks from the soul. When she moves for something greater than herself. She doesn't just lead. She leads with purpose. And that purpose is what gives her journey meaning beyond success. There's a fire in the woman who knows why she wakes up every morning. She's not driven by trends, fame, or fleeting admiration. She's fueled by the mission to make a difference. Whether it's empowering the next generation, changing lives through her art, standing up for justice, or simply being a light in someone's dark hour. She knows that real power lies in using your platform, not just sitting on it. Her life is her message. She doesn't wait for permission to lead. She steps into the role boldly, even when her voice shakes, because the cause matters more than her comfort. Legacy isn't built in big moments. It's built in the quiet decisions you make every day. It's built when you choose integrity over popularity, when you mentor instead of compete, when you fight for someone who can't fight for themselves. The high-value woman sees beyond the surface. She asks, what am I leaving behind when I walk out of this room? What will they remember when I'm not in the spotlight? And the answer isn't always in headlines. It's in the lives she's touched, the barriers she's broken, the minds she's opened. Her legacy is not ego-driven. It's soul-deep. The world doesn't need more people chasing followers. It needs more people leading with meaning. When a woman knows her voice can shape culture, heal wounds, or challenge injustice, she becomes a force. She speaks with clarity, not just to be heard, but to awaken hearts. She takes her seat at the table, and when there's no seat, she builds her own and invites others. That's how movements start. That's how tides turn. She doesn't care if her efforts are trendy. She cares if they're true. And that truth is what inspires lasting change. You can have all the success in the world, but if it doesn't lift others, it's incomplete. Purpose-driven women know this. They carry themselves with grace, but they fight with grit. They know that leading isn't always glamorous. It's showing up when it's hard, speaking up when it's risky, and staying grounded when others are watching. Strength. They don't just want to be remembered for what they had. They want to be remembered for what they gave, for the doors they opened, the courage they sparked, the love they spread. Their names become more than names. They become symbols of transformation. And maybe the most powerful part, she doesn't wait to be perfect to lead. She leads as she learns. She grows in public. She evolves out loud. And that vulnerability is what gives others permission to do the same. Because legacy isn't about being untouchable. It's about being unforgettable. And the high-value woman knows her time here is limited, but her impact is not. So she shows up boldly. She speaks with fire. She lives with purpose. And in doing so, she becomes the kind of leader the world doesn't just admire, but the kind it desperately needs. A high-value woman is not defined by status, appearance, or perfection. She is defined by the depth of her purpose, the strength of her character, and the legacy she chooses to leave behind. She doesn't chase applause, she creates impact. She doesn't compete, she uplifts. She leads with intention, owns her story with pride, and walks with a quiet power that demands respect without ever asking for it. Her worth isn't up for negotiation. It's rooted, unwavering, and radiates through every move she makes. And the most powerful thing about her, she's not just becoming her best self for her own sake. She's doing it to light the way for others. Because a high-value woman doesn't just rise, she raises the world with her.